Eu sou a Josefine Bourgois, diretora executiva do Projeto Paradiso. Eu vou começar em português para dar as boas-vindas. Queria agradecer aqui a presença de vocês para essa mesa sobre o Hubert Balls Fund, na presença da Sarah Juricic. I should have asked you, Sarah, how do I pronounce your name right? Juricic?
Juricic.
Juricic. So Sarah Juricic, who has been with IFFR for a few years, and she's the coordinator of the, I switched to English, to the Cinemark program and of the Hubert Balls Fund at the moment. Também a gente está na presença aqui da Maya Darin, consagrada, premiada diretora, e da produtora Sabrina Garcia, que tiveram seu projeto selecionado nesse último call do Hubert Balls Fund, Canção da Noite. E a Maya já tinha tido, também já tinha sido selecionado com o projeto A Febre, do filme A Febre. A ideia aqui, então, é a gente falar um pouco dessa... A gente tem a felicidade de ter uma parceria nova esse ano com o Hubert Balls Fund, na qual os selecionados brasileiros recebem um prêmio adicional e integram também, quer dizer, e depois participem de atividade de multiplicação com o Paradiso. Então, a gente vai ter a felicidade de ter essas atividades depois com a Maia, que vai ser maravilhoso. E a ideia aqui é, a Sarah vai nos apresentar o fundo, inclusive hoje vai anunciar a data em que o próximo call vai abrir, cujo deadline é em agosto. E a ideia é tirar dúvidas. Eu vou pedir para vocês, se vocês puderem, abrir as suas câmeras. É sempre mais simpático a gente ver a cara das pessoas. Depois da Sarah falar, vão falar um pouco a Sabrina e a Maia sobre sua experiência. E depois a gente vai ter um momento para fazer perguntas. Perguntas podem ser feitas diretamente em inglês ou em português e serão traduzidas. Então, agora eu vou voltar para o inglês, uma vez que eu expliquei as coisas que eram necessárias as pessoas, nossas audiências em português entenderem. So I'll switch back to English. Sarah, I just introduced you and the panel. I want to thank you for being here with us today, from you and Maya and Sabrina for taking the time. It's always good to be able to share information and experiences so that more and more Brazilian projects apply to HBF and make the cut, hopefully. You have had an amazing record of Brazilian films going through HBF in the 4 years? 30 years of existence. You have supported 66 Brazilian features. It's amazing.
You know the facts better than me.
Okay, well, I did my homework. Actually, Igor here somewhere did his homework for me, and Luisa, thank you, team. But yes, it's true that there has been this relationship between Hubert Balls Fund and IFFR and Brazilian cinematography going on for a long time. So it's really very important to just, to say that, and thank you, of course, and keeping this a fact. And you had really good intuitions. You selected, Kleber Mendoza's first film, O Som ao Redor, and of course, Maya Darin's previous film, which was then awarded many prizes. So great movies have been selected as they were at the project phase by Hubert Balls Fund, and I think they have benefited greatly from your support. So now we'll hear all about how it works, and then we'll hand it over to Maya and Sabrina. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for having me, everyone, and greetings from really, really gray, and rainy Amsterdam. So you see, it's the beginning of July. I'm wearing layers. Again, yeah, thank you for having me. I thought I could present the fund a little bit and give you some facts and some practical things, and then we can open the discussion for any questions that you have, especially about the August deadline. The deadline is first, as Josephine, I got that somehow, Portuguese. The deadline is 1st of August. We will be launching the call actually in 2 days. So on Thursday, it's going to be released in a newsletter. and of course, I will try to answer all the questions that I can now, but just to say already in advance, whatever other questions you might have, you can just write to us. We'll be monitoring the inbox, and we can help out. I'm gonna share my screen now, and I hope that's gonna work. Yes.
It is.
Yeah, great. So yeah, Hubert Walls Fund is the fund for feature films in development. My name is Sarah, and I'm currently substituting for my colleague Jeske van der Slikke, who is currently on maternity leave. I will stick around for a while longer, so you will probably have to deal with me. And this is Hubert Walls, who is the founder of EFFR, and thanks to him, we also opened up the fund, and he was the main inspiration for it. As I already said, we're a film fund. It's a curatorial fund for filmmakers coming from countries where freedom of speech and a solid film infrastructure are lacking. So those are territories that spread from Latin America, Africa, Asia, the Middle East, parts of Eastern Europe, as well as diaspora. So filmmakers that are living in diaspora, but they originate from one of those countries. We mainly support narrative feature films, but we do not exclude documentaries. Although it's quite, it's not very common for us to support documentaries. They have to be quite unconventional. So we call them creative documentaries. They're often hybrid films that have both fiction aspects and documentary aspects. We can talk about that later. We also support animated films. We have had animation films in our selections before. And I thought I could, let me go back. I thought I could talk about the categories that we have in short lines. And I think the one that you are mostly interested in applying for at this stage is the script and project development, which is our script and project development support. As I mentioned, for narrative feature length projects, each year we have two deadlines, the spring and the fall one. The fall one is approaching, and it's 1st of August. As of this year, we used to have two categories, so Bright Future and Voices. For more advanced filmmakers, those are voices, and for first and second time filmmakers, those are the Bright Future applications. But from this year, we have combined both categories, so we only have one. So all the calls come into those deadlines. We still do internally select. We do pay attention on the balance between more experienced and first-time directors, but it's just not official anymore. The maximum support that you can receive is 10,000 euros, and that's support for the development of the project. And you don't have to have a producer attached. It's enough that it's a director. It doesn't give you more or less points if you have a producer. Very often we've had only directors applying. In 2021, so far in the spring round, we had over 350 applications, and we have made a selection of 10 projects that were selected. They were announced late May, and amongst them Maya and Sabrina as well.
And I forgot to say, we had a second Brazilian movie who's not here today, but of course, Amores Surdos 1500 from Grace Passou and the Brava production company. So we had two Brazilian movies in the last call. I had to say this.
Yeah, we were both big fans. We were fans of both of those projects, so we're really happy that we managed to select two. And we often have a lot of projects coming in from Brazil. Of course, we know what the financial situation is in Brazil with filmmaking, so it's amazing to see that filmmakers still do strive to create, even though the conditions are as they are. The second category that we have is HVF Plus Europe, which might be interesting to you in a little bit further phase of development, which is a minority co-production support. It's co-funded by the Creative Europe, the media program. And it's focused on co-productions between HBF eligible countries and projects and European co-producers. So the main production country that's applying should be eligible for the support. And the applications go through the European co-producer. The maximum contribution is 53,000 euros. The spending obligation is only 25% in the country that applied, which is quite nice. And there is an eligibility period of a few years, which we have to have due to the Creative Europe, who are very bureaucratic and very strict. So there needs to be a time frame in which film needs to be made. We actually just announced a selection last week of the 2021 selection of 6 projects. And the next deadline will be announced next summer, so summer of 2022. We had 44 applications this year, and yeah, as I said, 6 were supported. NFF plus HBF co-production scheme is basically the same as the NFF, the HBF plus Europe scheme, only it's intended for collaborations between HBF supported projects and Dutch producers. They go through the Netherlands Film Fund. It's our collaboration with the Netherlands Film Fund. The spending obligation is 50% and the amount of support is 50,000 euros per project. This year we had, for the spring round, we had 9 applications and we selected 2. And we have another deadline this year, which is 4th of October. So you can also look into that. The last one that we have is the Dutch Post-Production Award, which is also in collaboration with the Netherlands Film Fund and the Netherlands Post-Production Alliance. It's for projects previously supported by one of the HBF schemes. It doesn't matter which one it was. The applicant should be the Dutch producer and you get funding for post-production costs. 100% of them should be spent in the Netherlands. You receive 50,000 euros plus 5,000 in kind from one of our post-production partners. And last year we had 6 applications and 2 were supported. The deadline for this year is going to be towards the end of the year, and we're probably going to announce it at the IFFR next year. This is very factual. So 2020 in numbers, we had 11,000. My God, 11,000. I don't think we would be able to go through 11,000.
You wouldn't look that good. You wouldn't look that good if you had to review that many applications.
We had 1,130 applications in total. We supported 33 projects in total with 901,000 euros. 100,000 euros of contributions. We don't have, so the nice percentages, we don't have them for 2020 yet. We have to make them, but it's very important for us to keep balance on, to keep track of the balance when it comes to supporting female and male filmmakers, as well as first time and second time and more experienced directors. So there always has to be a good balance for us. I've included some projects that are currently being shown, well, from today in Cannes. So these are the latest examples of the projects that we have supported. One of them is Memoria from Apichatpong Weerasethakul from Thailand, which is a part of the official competition in Cannes. Then we have Freda from Jessica Geneus, which is a part of Amsterdam Regard, as well as Noche de Fuego from Tatiana Hueso.
A Brazilian co-production.
Oh, yes. We have Clara Sola from Natalie Alvarez, Alvarez from Colombia. And I thought I included one more, but I guess I didn't. That's enough of me babbling. What I mentioned earlier, if you have questions that I didn't answer now or I won't answer now, please just write to us and me or my colleague Fraser will come back to you. But now I accept all and any questions.
Okay.
So I can talk a bit more.
Well, thank you, Sarah. I think these were very interesting information and also very practical ones and much needed. I think we'll first hand it over to Maya and Sabrina. If you want to, if the people in this room, and we are very happy actually, because there are many of you, it's 55 people interested. I mean, some of this 55 are us, but anyway, about around 50. So if you want to ask your questions, you can use the chat, but it's even better if you, at the end, if you do it live, if you ask your question by opening up your mic. But if you're too shy, you can send them in the chat section. But before the Q&A, somebody has his mic open. Luisa, can you mute whoever? Great, thank you. So Maya and Sabrina will give their little testimony on being selected this year, and not only this year, and they'll do it in Portuguese first. So Maya, obrigada, Sabrina, por estar aqui. Eu sei que a Maya vacinou ontem, a gente ficou preocupado, porque eu também vacinei ontem, a minha colaboradora Raquel vacinou ontem, ela não está porque ela ficou capotada, ela não conseguiu, mas você, que é o mais importante, está bem. Então a gente está bem feliz que você está bem e vacinada. E Sabrina, então, por favor, contem para a gente como foi, como está sendo, como será.
Muito obrigado, Josefine, muito obrigado, Sara, toda a equipe do cinema do Projeto Paradiso. A gente fica muito feliz de poder estar aqui, né, tendo essa troca. Todo mundo que está assistindo a gente também, obrigado. Para a gente foi muito especial, né, ter podido contar com o apoio do Huber Boss. E foi uma surpresa muito grande também. É um projeto que a gente está desenvolvendo, um projeto que eu tenho já há alguns anos, desde 2016, mas que eu comecei a, de fato, desenvolvê-lo esse ano. E com a Febre, o apoio que a gente contou do Huber Boss foi o primeiro apoio que a gente teve para o filme, né? Foi o primeiro fundo que apoiou o filme, foi o Huber Boss. E nesse sentido, foi muito importante, foi fundamental, porque foi o que abriu outros caminhos e possibilitou a gente também ter os recursos, né, num momento, assim, um primeiro longa-metragem de ficção, é sempre mais difícil a gente conseguir captar, tem todos os desafios, né, que a gente enfrenta e que nesse momento que a gente está vivendo agora, né, se intensificaram e são muito maiores do que no período de captação da Febre, mas naquele momento foi fundamental porque foi não só a possibilidade de ter os recursos para estar desenvolvendo o projeto, né? A Febre é um filme que contou com muita pesquisa, então a gente de fato teve inúmeras viagens. O filme, para quem não assistiu, o filme se passa em Manaus e teve um processo longo de pesquisa, então foram inúmeras viagens para Manaus junto com o Miguel, que é um dos meus corroteiristas no filme. Tudo isso tinha um custo mas, enfim, um custo maior para a gente, né, que a gente não teria como arcar sem um suporte como o suporte do Huber Boss, né? Também o Huber Boss foi muito importante porque possibilitou a gente arcar com alguns custos que a gente teve para participar de laboratórios, que o filme veio a participar mais adiante, como o Torino Film Lab, que incluía algumas viagens. Então o suporte do Huber Boss foi muito fundamental nesse sentido também, de poder nos ajudar com as passagens aéreas. Então, assim, vários sentidos, né? O roteiro, as pesquisas, e mais adiante abrir caminhos para o filme, né? Na captação do filme, nas coproduções que a gente veio a estabelecer com a França e com a Alemanha. Então, foi também assim um primeiro movimento de incentivo ao projeto, né? E nesse sentido, o Huber Boss abre muitos caminhos, né? Porque acaba sendo um fundo, como é um fundo de desenvolvimento, acaba sendo um fundo que entra e aposta nos projetos num estágio muito inicial, né? E isso é muito interessante, assim, no sentido de que é um gesto muito grande, né? Assim, é sempre mais difícil você estar fazendo a seleção de projetos que estão num estágio tão inicial de desenvolvimento, né? Então é muito, enfim, é muito importante para os projetos poderem contar com essa possibilidade de apoio, né? Agora, nesse momento, a gente está sem fundos de desenvolvimento no Brasil, né? A gente tem alguns fundos regionais que vêm abrindo, mas ainda muito lentamente. Então, acho que fundos como o Huber Boss acabam tendo uma importância ainda maior, né, do que já tinham. Não sei, Josefine, me diz se tem coisas especiais que você gostaria que eu falasse nesse momento.
Não, acho que isso foi maravilhoso já. É muito isso que é bom explicar, né? Em que fase do projeto você aplicou, por que isso foi importante para o projeto e em que você usou o recurso. Acho que isso já deu um panorama. Se a Sabrina quiser complementar, e aí a gente abre para perguntas, já chegaram algumas.
Bom dia para todo mundo. Obrigada, Projeto Paradiso, também pelo convite. Tem sido muito importante tudo que vocês têm feito aí, principalmente nesse momento que o Brasil está passando aí por uma situação difícil na área de cultura e audiovisual. Então, nossos agradecimentos. Não, então, eu já tinha uma grande experiência no mercado, né, de cinema, né, desde 2004 trabalho com cinema e acabei fazendo um caminho um pouco diferente de ir pelo mercado, né? Eu trabalhei na Globo Filmes, depois em distribuidora, cheguei também a ver o outro lado, enfim, do mercado audiovisual, porque eu também trabalhei na Secretaria de Cultura numa época que a gente estava mais pulsante esse envolvimento, né, dos governos com a atividade. Então, acabou que a Maia me chamou na época do lançamento da Febre para ajudá-la no lançamento, para gerenciar esse lançamento, pela minha experiência com distribuição, embora eu já estivesse trabalhando na área de produção já também há algum tempinho, e foi aí que a gente se conheceu. A partir daí teve um outro projeto de curta que é um projeto do BRICS, que veio um pedido através do Giazanque para a gente fazer um curta também ano passado. Ela me chamou para produzir, a gente chegou a começar, mas acabou que o projeto foi adiado por conta da pandemia. Então, acho que a partir daí estabeleceu uma parceria, e aí acabou sendo natural ela me chamar para produzir o próximo filme dela. Enfim, que é uma parceria no qual eu estou muito envolvida e muito feliz de estar junto com ela nesse projeto. Então, assim, na verdade, para a gente aplicar, esse projeto já estava sendo desenvolvido muito na cabeça da Maia, ela já tinha feito, inclusive, algumas pesquisas, mas eu acho que foi super importante, porque o lançamento da Febre foi em novembro, no Brasil, e o Roberto Balls abria em fevereiro, março. Então, a gente sentiu que seria uma grande oportunidade da gente pegar esse projeto que já estava começando seu desenvolvimento, mas para colocá-lo no papel, aproveitando que tinha um fundo que conversava muito com o nosso projeto, né? Eu acho que isso é uma coisa importante, assim, né? Eu acho que tem alguns produtores tentam às vezes adaptar o projeto ao fundo que eles estão aplicando, mas eu acho que o movimento tem que ser o oposto, né? A gente entender se aquele fundo tem a ver com o nosso projeto, e no caso do Roberto Balls, e até pelo histórico da Maia, tinha muito a ver, então foi um ótimo incentivo para a gente colocar esse projeto no papel e aplicá-lo. Então, realmente foi uma grande surpresa, a gente ficou muito feliz de ter ganhado, e tem certeza que vai fazer muita diferença, não só para o desenvolvimento do projeto, também como para os próximos passos que a gente quer dar, e vai ser um projeto que a gente realmente está mergulhando esse ano para poder colocar ele de pé. Então, é isso, muito feliz com da gente ter sido contemplada pelo fundo, e um fundo tão importante, principalmente nesse momento que a gente está vivendo agora.
Muito bom, obrigada, Sabrina. Thank you so much again. So I was trying to give Sarah some very, summed up kind of talking points of what you just said, and I think your last sentence was very interesting, Sabrina. The fund has to match the project, and not the project made to match the fund. I think it's very important that you stay true to your project and that you choose the right fund. We have also an initiative at Projeto Paradiso called Show Me the Fund. It's a big research on more than 70 funds that are available internationally for Brazilian projects. So choose the right fund for your project. And I think Gilbert Balls has some specificities, and Sarah was telling us about them. And I think these have to be taken into account. We already have 3 questions, so I'll jump right in. And nobody wants to speak on the video so far, I guess, or maybe. So what I'll do is I'll ask those 3 questions, and whoever wants can raise his hand. I think that's something we can do here. So first question is by someone we like, Fernanda Vidigal, because she's a talent of our network as well. At what stage of development is it good to submit a project, Sarah? Is there any recommended stage?
For the script and project development,
Yeah.
that's a good question. For script and project development, we're looking for early to mid development. So it has to make sense for you to invest those funds in developing the project. So it has to make sense for you to develop the script, for example. So we don't ask when applying, we don't ask for scripts in this stage, in this support. So yeah, it's early to mid development. For HBF plus Europe and NFF plus HBF, it's a bit further. So we also ask for a fully developed script because that's production and post-production support.
Okay, very clear. We have a question from Joffre Silva, whose camera is broken. Could Sarah elaborate a little bit more on the do's and don'ts of applying to the fund? I'm sure you have a list in your head at least.
One really important thing that I can mention here is, of course, if what I just said, if you're applying for script and project development, we don't read scripts. So you can ask us if you can send in the script, but we're going to say no, because the committee is very small and we're very limited in time and means. So we're looking for treatments, director statements, visual concepts, anything that can help us get a better idea of your project. One very important thing is the synopsis as well as the treatment, but the way the synopsis and the treatment need to be written. Very often filmmakers, what they do is they write the synopsis and the treatment as if we were the audience. So if there's, a mysterious part of the story, they very often don't reveal it in the treatment and the script, which is not a great thing for us, because we need to be able to really get a full grasp of the project and really know how it begins, how it goes, and how it ends. So the ending, for example, shouldn't be mysterious for us and shouldn't be not revealed. We really need to know everything of the project. A very important thing for us is also visuals. It's always a bit strange if you have a very developed project, but you don't attach any kind of visuals. It's also really important for us to, as I said, to get a better picture of the inspiration, of the feel of the film, of the music, whatever you can attach to your application to help us envision it would be great. I think there's like a million other do's and don'ts, but there's always, you learn about these things, and there's not a major don't that you shouldn't do that I need to mention.
All right. So I have another written question, and then I'll hand it over to Lee Bachi. Espero que seja Bachi. So Sabrina Fidalgo is asking, good morning. I have a question about gender and race inequality in the chosen projects. Do you have this as a concern? Here in Brazil, we have a big problem in this regard, especially the racial issue, as the numbers show that despite the fact that we have 56% of the Black population, it is underrepresented in the reality of the films. Most of the Brazilian film directors contemplated in the funds are white men, straight, cisgender, followed by white women. Great question.
It is, and it is a concern that we share, and it is a concern that we are working on. And unfortunately, it's not only a problem in Brazil. It's a problem and a project. I think everywhere in the world. We're happy to say that this year the 2 Brazilian projects that we supported were 2 women, so 2 female filmmakers, and one of them is a Black filmmaker. So from our side, we are working on it. We're also working on diversity. We have also, from this year, we're also asking all of our projects to fill in a certain diversity checklist, which tells us in which way they're working on beating these issues. So what I mentioned earlier, it's very important for us to have a balance of female and male filmmakers. So as well as Black and white and any other racial filmmakers. This year we have 50% female and male filmmakers that we supported for script and project development, for example. And it's a very important thing for us, and we are working on it. When I say us, I also mean the festival. So I think IVFR is a festival that knows no limits and doesn't look for films based on these characteristics. So I hope that this helps a little bit.
Okay, great. Lee, eu não sei de que é o diminutivo. I don't know what it stands for, but Lee.
Bom dia, good morning. Eu posso falar em português, rapidinho? Tu traduz?
Pode, eu traduzo.
Tá, então tá. Então, eu sou atriz e eu comecei agora como cineasta. Na pandemia eu comecei a escrever e tal. Fiz um curta independente e divulguei em vários festivais independentes, né? E eu escrevi um novo roteiro. Para escrever no fundo, no Huberbaus, eu posso escrever o roteiro pronto também, ou eu preciso ter um fundo brasileiro, sabe? De algum edital, de alguma lei, né? Se precisa também, né? Essa é a minha dúvida, porque eu já tenho um roteiro pronto, só não tenho verba. O primeiro eu fiz sem verba nenhuma. E era só eu, né, no curta, então ficava mais fácil. Esse tem mais atores, né? Eu gostaria de fazer um projeto profissional, né? Por isso que a gente vai ampliando a visão, tudo isso, né? Então, essa é a minha dúvida. E agora eu estou entrando nesse meio também dos festivais, né, internacionais, e também com outros na Índia e vários outros, né? Estou fazendo uns contatos e estou me aprofundando aos poucos.
Ok, obrigada pela pergunta, Lee.
Nada.
So Lee is an actress. That's why she was the first one to open up her video, her camera. And she's an actress turned into a scriptwriter. She already has a short film. She's now writing a feature, and she wants to know if she's eligible, even though she has no funds, no funding attached, secured of the project.
I assume that's for the script and project development.
Yes, I have to say most of this conversation will be about the script and development because our partnership with Huberbaus Fund is really around the script and development call. So I think most of the questions will be geared towards that specific call.
Absolutely. About your question, you're an actress and you would like to know if you're eligible. Yes, absolutely. That doesn't matter. You're a scriptwriter as far as we are concerned. For us, it's important that you do have some filmmaking experience from before, so that you do have a previous work that you can show us. For example, if you have a short film, that's enough for us. You don't have to have a feature film directed before. It's enough for us to see that short film. When it comes to funds, it's also not necessary for you to have any funds, because HBF is very often the first fund that steps into the development of the film. So if there is a big chance that the project is going to be made in the end and is going to be fully financed, of course we need to assess that, but for us it's not a problem that you have no funds yet. So, or a producer, you can be all by yourself working on a beautiful project, and we would be happy to support it.
Great. Lee respondido. Pessoal, more questions. It can also be questions for Maya and Sabrina, questions for Sarah. Anybody want to raise their hand or ask question in the chat? Otherwise, I will have to ask one myself, but I'll give you 2 minutes to make up your mind. Don't be shy. Bruno Ribeiro está aqui, I have to say. We have a talent from Projeto Paradiso. I'm so happy. And he was invited at the IFFR Festival with his movie 2 years ago, Bruno.
Sim, isso.
Do you want to say something? Do you want to add something or ask a question? See, that's what we do with our talents. We pinpoint them.
Eu posso também fazer em português?
Pode, Bruno.
Tá. Não, eu estava pensando um pouco nessa pergunta também que até já tinha sido feita sobre o ponto de desenvolvimento em que seria bom aplicar, né, o projeto. Uma dúvida assim, que eu fiquei o quanto é relevante ou não o projeto ter participado de outros eventos e ter participado de laboratórios e mercados, e o quanto pesa esse currículo anterior, né, de outros filmes, outros projetos, considerando, né, esse fundo de desenvolvimento que seria para primeiro e segundo longa, né? Então, o quanto pesaria, por exemplo, esse currículo de curtas? Acho que minha pergunta seria um pouco
Ótimo.
nesse sentido.
Obrigada, Bruno. Oh, so Sarah, Bruno is asking two questions, very good questions. One is, how much of an experience do you would expect from the directors? So what's the weight of, you know, these short films that they would have on their curriculum? And also, how much does it matter to you that the project has been selected by other, you know, like labs or festivals or whatever, that they have had some kind of credentials beforehand?
Well, the first question about the experience, that's a good one, because what I was saying before, we used to have two categories that you apply for. So Bright Future for first and second time filmmakers, the same as the competition that we have at the festival. And Voices, which is for more experienced filmmakers, so 3 or 4 or maybe even more feature films made. For us, it's not a prerequisite that you have had a film in an A-list festival. So it's that's what I forgot to mention before. We work with a selection committee, with an external selection committee that changes every round, and they are the ones that assess the project. So it actually depends, and that's a committee that's constituted of readers from South America, from all the regions that we operate in, as well as European, and as well as sales and marketing, and they're the ones that assess the projects. And they're not going to base their opinion only on the track record that you have. Of course, very often well, not very often, but sometimes there were cases where a film has been shown, previous work by a director has been shown in an A-list festival, but the new work that they were presenting was not good enough at the moment they were presenting it. So it's absolutely no prerequisite for you to have a very important festival in your track record. Of course, it tells something about your film if it has a big track record. So if it has participated in a lot of festivals, then it has sort of a quality stamp as well. And we take that into consideration. The second question, I forgot immediately. So if you can...
the career of the director, it kind of is the same about the project and the director. How much do you expect from the career of the director? How much previous experience in film directing?
Yeah, so that's what we look for is you need to have had a film directed, so you need to have had a short film directed at least. Directors without any experience, it's very, very high unlikely that you are going to get selected, and you're actually not really eligible to apply. So if this is really your first ever directing expert experience, we would really suggest that you try to make a short film first that you can build up your experience on, and then apply for the feature film. But that's something that I would advise to anyone who is trying to make a feature film, and not just for the fund. Short films are there for you to work on your career, to work on your experience, to work with a crew, to develop as a filmmaker before you start with a feature film. So not even connected to the HBF. And I think the second question was actually about labs.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Second
Third question.
For us, so I also work for Cinemart, for example. I'm going to take over for Cinemart in October again. For us, for HBF, having the film selected in several script labs is a good thing, because it means that you're working on your development. If you have plans on applying for some, those are also the funds that you might be able to use to cover the expenses for the script lab or script coach. So for us, that's a good thing. For Cinemart, for example, if your project has been showcased in a big market that's sort of a has a similar audience to Cinemart, then we probably won't select it because you've already gained everything you could from the project. But for Hubert Bals, it's a good thing. So you don't have to have it, of course. It's not a prerequisite,
It's a plus.
but it's a plus. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Bruno. We have questions for Maya and Sabrina, and then we're back to questions for you. And I know Paulo Davi raised his hand. I'll be right there. So Maya and Sabrina, and I think I'll ask them in Portuguese if you're fine with this. So Maya, você traduziu seu próprio material? É uma pergunta. Quais os efeitos para a febre ter sido selecionado, além dos efeitos financeiros, claro? E, peraí, tinha mais uma. Isso. Você já tinha aplicado o projeto da febre antes em outros fundos? Teve alguma rejeição antes de ser aceita? Adoro essa pergunta. I'll just say, Sarah, someone is asking to Maya if before getting the fund for a febre, fever, I guess, if she had gotten no's before getting a yes, and I think it's a great question.
O microfone aqui, obrigada, gente. Vou tentar lembrar as 3 perguntas, mas vou começar pela última. Então, eu acho que o Hubert Bals foi o primeiro fundo que a gente aplicou, mas a gente não ganhou na primeira vez. Eu apliquei a primeira vez, eu acho que foi em 2014, não lembro agora se eu apliquei a primeira vez em 2013 e apliquei novamente em 2014. Eu lembro que teve um ano de intervalo entre a primeira aplicação e a segunda aplicação. Talvez a primeira tenha sido no outono e a segunda tenha sido na primavera do ano seguinte. E a primeira vez a gente não recebeu, e a gente seguiu trabalhando num projeto. É um pouco como a Sabrina falou, assim, quando eu começo a desenvolver um projeto, eu vou desenvolvendo o projeto. Isso aconteceu com a febre em alguns fundos, inclusive no próprio Prodecine, que foi o fundo brasileiro que a gente recebeu para o projeto, foi o Prodecine 5, e o Prodecine também. A gente inscreveu num ano, a gente não recebeu o Prodecine, a gente foi escrever no ano seguinte, e no ano seguinte a gente recebeu o fundo. Isso aconteceu em várias inscrições da febre, da gente receber na segunda inscrição que a gente estava fazendo em alguns fundos e laboratórios que a gente participou. Na Cinefundação também, o filme participou da residência da Cinefundação de Cannes, e a gente também foi selecionado no segundo ano que a gente inscreveu. Então, eu sinto que é isso, a gente vai desenvolvendo o projeto e em algum momento as coisas podem acontecer, porque depende muito do desenvolvimento do projeto, depende muito da banca, depende muito dos outros projetos que estão sendo enviados naquele ano também. São várias circunstâncias, né, que precisam estar junto, enfim, se encontrando para o projeto ser selecionado, e nem todas elas a gente tem controle sobre, né? A gente só tem controle sobre o projeto em si, mas, né, quais são os outros projetos que vão estar juntos, se inscrevendo, né? A força de cada um deles, as escolhas do comitê de seleção daquele ano, enfim, são coisas que são realmente variam de ano a ano. Então, por isso que eu acho que é interessante, sim, poder voltar a inscrever-se, continuar sendo importante para o projeto. Em relação à importância que teve para a febre, foi fundamental, porque eu acho que, como o Hubert Bals muitas vezes é um primeiro fundo, eu acho que traz para a gente também, não só financeiramente a possibilidade de continuar trabalhando no projeto, mas traz também... É muito duro, né? A gente rala muito para conseguir desenvolver um projeto, em muitos lugares, não só no Brasil, né? Mas aqui também muito. Então, acho que é um impulso, assim, no sentido de que você sente que o projeto, de alguma maneira, tá como projeto chegando a outras pessoas, né? E afetando, né? E tocando e criando alguma coisa. Então, acho que nesse sentido é muito importante também. E daí, claro, que pensando assim, né, em como encontrar os financiamentos para o filme, né? Como tornar o filme possível e também como fazer com que ele possa chegar a mais pessoas, né, e a pessoas em mais lugares. e aqui no Brasil a gente sempre tem um desafio muito grande, né, de como fazer o filme de fato chegar a um público maior, assim, levando em consideração da dificuldade enorme que a gente tem de acesso, né, da maior parte da população brasileira que não tem acesso às salas de cinema, que não vai ter acesso a plataformas de streaming, a Smart TV, etc., né? Então a gente tem uma série de desafios aí em relação à distribuição, que eu acho que é uma coisa até muito importante da gente poder pensar em programas mais dedicados à questão de distribuição no Brasil, aproveitando aqui para falar um pouco sobre isso, porque, né, a gente está aqui num momento de rede, todo mundo, né, todos nós aqui realizadores brasileiros e, enfim, como pode ser importante também a gente poder ter mais financiamento, ajuda e pensamento no sentido da distribuição dos filmes, né? Não só nos circuitos dos festivais, mas como o filme poder alcançar outros públicos, e daí, claro que as coproduções ajudam muito nesse sentido, né? Assim, de como o filme, aquele projeto poder também estar chegando em outros territórios, e a pessoas em outros lugares, e depois poder contar com a possibilidade de uma distribuição maior aqui no Brasil também. Então, né, são coisas que vão se somando, e daí fundos como o Huber Bowles ajudam muito nisso, porque né, o projeto vai aos poucos entrando dentro de uma rede de fundos e de apoios europeia que vem ajudando muito ao cinema no Brasil também, né, através das coproduções, através de fundos abertos a produções brasileiras.
Maravilha. Maia, aliás, aqui o Joffre está dizendo, está elogiando o Joffre, o Aécio também, elogiando você, seu trabalho, dizendo que você é uma inspiração. E eu queria pegar o gancho dessa sua última fala sobre coprodução, porque tem uma pergunta para a Sarah sobre exatamente isso. Sarah, Maia was talking about how important it is to movies are produced in co-production to reach wider audiences, and Joffre is also asking, is there a situation where a project that was selected by HBF went on to find a co-production in Europe? Is that a leverage?
Yeah, that's that's one of the, we look for projects. Sorry, I have to sneeze. No, I don't have to sneeze anymore. We're looking
for you're sneezing, it's fine.
We are looking for projects that have a high international potential, and co-productions. Most of our projects, I think if you look at an average, end up being co-productions in the end. So we are focused on the internationality of the project when selecting it. So we also always look at, is there a Dutch component that can be added to the film? Is it, what are the odds that it's going to be a co-production? And so, yes, there have been many films that were co-productions in the end.
Okay, good. So I'll just go over the written questions, and I promise, Paulo, I'll hand it to you. I think they're quick questions. Considering that Monica is asking, considering a project is approved, what do you expect to receive at the end of the process, and what is the deadline to finish the process?
Well, for the script and project development, it's 5 years from the moment that you sign the contract. Within 5 years, we expect to receive the script, and once the film is finished, we also expect to receive a version of the film, and we would like to be informed about the development of the film every 6 months or so, if there is something interesting happening, of course. We do ask for some rights in exchange, in case the film doesn't have a Benelux distributor 6 months after the premiere. The rights automatically come to HBF, so we are responsible for the distribution of the film in the Benelux, as well as non-exclusive VOD rights. But on more details, I can refer you to the website, where it's all written. I think it's quite clear. And we don't, of course, IFFR is always looking for HBF supported films that could premiere here. But what we want is a finished film when you're done, so we can consider it for the next edition. So, but it's not a prerequisite, of course.
Okay. Fernanda Vidigal again is asking, can you, and I guess that's what Maya did, that's what she told us, can you apply in the same category more than once if you're not selected? in the first round. And if you do, if you are selected by the script and development, can you then apply to the post-production, what do you call it, section, or?
The HBF Plus Europe or NFF Plus HBF or Dutch Post-Production Awards. Yes, you can. It's actually not possible to resubmit the project unless you're invited. So if the project was rejected in one round and it wasn't shortlisted, then you can't reapply. But shortlisted projects can reapply because we invite them to reapply, and very often they already come in the next round. And then we can also give feedback, and then you can improve your application in that period.
You give feedback to projects that were shortlisted but didn't make the final cut, and
yes.
then they are invited to come back to the next selection.
Yeah.
Okay, to apply.
And they can resubmit once. So you can't, unfortunately, you can't resubmit until you get the funding. You can only resubmit once. And regarding the post-production awards, yes, in case you have a Dutch co-producer and you have received any type of HBF support before, you're eligible for post-production. For HBF Plus Europe, you don't have to have received the development support before. So it's enough to just apply for HBF Plus Europe.
Maya, you want to say something about this? The feedback you got, maybe, or is that something you want to comment upon? Or
yes, we had some feedback. It was many years ago, so I want to remember precisely. I would need to check, but I know that during this time we have worked on the treatment, and we had been working already. We had already a draft of the script, but we came back to the treatment and we carry on working the treatment. So we had a more mature version of the treatment. I think we had also we had advanced with research. We had just come back from a long period I spent in Manaus, and then we also had more visual material also. And I think that there were different things in the project. I've also worked on the letter of intention. The project has changed a little bit from one year to the other because in the meanwhile, I've spent this period in Manaus that was very crucial for the development. So maybe I think it can be interesting, but in this case, you cannot really choose because you need to be pre-selected. And then if you are pre-selected, you are invited to apply in the next round. So you need to take that opportunity. But if not, in founds that this is not the case, I believe that's also good that you can wait that the project has passed by something that can bring something else to it, and that you also feel that is a new moment for the project to apply, even though, as I've told before, there are so many different aspects that are going to play into it, the commission of that year, the other projects and things that we cannot really control. But even though I think it's always better that we wait a little bit and that we can take advantage of something that's been that the project is passing through. And
yeah. We have two questions related to exactly this from Aécio Amaral and Enoch Carvalho. They both are saying that they were pre-selected in this last round, didn't make the final cut, and didn't get an invitation to participate in this round. How does that work? Should they reach out to you? What can you tell them?
Let me. Well, if you weren't invited to resubmit, then I don't think you were shortlisted. But if you think that's a mistake, then yeah, please do reach out to our email, and then we can look into it.
Yeah, I think probably just make this understanding of what it means to be in this shortlist. Maybe we understand it in a way and you understand it in a different way, or whatever.
What we say when we say shortlisted, it's the last 25 projects that we're reading. Out of those 25, 10 make it to the last make it to the selection, but maybe you're confusing it with the pre-selection. Yes, I just see. So the pre-selection doesn't mean that you are shortlisted. So it's a different thing.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Yeah, we receive so many projects per round that it's very difficult for us to accept a lot of resubmissions as well. And as I said, the committee that we work with is quite small, so.
Okay, I still got his answer, and he's still very nice. We have a question from Clarissa and then Paulo. So she's asking about the kind of materials that you are expecting to receive for the script and development. A teaser, already filmed material. What are you expecting?
Well, when it comes to the visual materials, when it comes to the complete package, you can find all details on the website as well. When it comes to visuals, we don't expect to receive already filmed materials. If you have it, that's great. That can help us envision the film, and it can be great to see your inspiration as well. It's good. It's what I said before. It's important for us that you attach some visuals so we can get a sense of the mood and the inspiration. And but any teasers are not. It's not a prerequisite for us.
Okay. Então, I think I'll hand it over to Paulo for the last question. Even though I have something, Bruno, you said you had a question for Maya, or am I getting
Sim.
Am I wrong? Sim, então, all right. So I'll just ask Paulo to ask his question, and then we'll go over to Bruno. Paulo ou Davi?
Não, é por causa que eu queria saber em torno dessa própria pergunta que foi feita agora há pouco, que quando ela estava falando sobre os materiais visuais, eu não sei se eu me perdi, se eu não entendi direito o inglês, ou se foi só burrice minha, que quando ela falou sobre os materiais visuais, era sobre algo em torno de algo como um storyboard ou um teaser, como foi falado agora. Eu queria que ela falasse mais sobre isso, um storyboard, ou só exemplos de como nós planejamos montar ou decupar a cena, ou algo em torno disso.
All right. So Paulo wants more explanation about the visuals you expect, and do you, for instance, is a storyboard something you expect, even though you did tap into this, maybe just clarify last time.
We don't expect a storyboard, and we don't expect a teaser. So they are appreciated. We will take a look at them, but they're not going to influence the decision very much.
Paulo, você pegou que eles não têm nenhuma expectativa de que você submeta um storyboard ou qualquer tipo de visual. Na verdade, não tem expectativa. Será levado em consideração, mas eles não têm nenhuma expectativa. Tá bom? Muito bem.
Sim, agora eu entendi perfeitamente. Obrigado.
Que bom. Bruno had a question for Maya, and then we'll have to wrap up. Even though, okay, I guess we have a last question that came in here. But yes, Bruno, go ahead. E vai ser para Maya, então vai ser em português, imagino.
Sim. Maya, eu não sei se você chegou a comentar quando você falou, mas eu só fiquei curioso para saber qual foi o tempo de desenvolvimento da Febre, assim, desde a ideia, mais ou menos até o ponto que você viu, ok, isso aqui está pronto para filmar, e também um pouco anexando uma rápida pergunta a isso, se o momento em que você começa a aplicar para fundos de produção é num estágio de desenvolvimento onde você sabe que aquele projeto está maduro o suficiente para filmar, ou se você amadurece, digamos, dar esses últimos passos do desenvolvimento já com esse financiamento em vista, enfim, é um pouco isso.
Obrigado, Bruno. Então, a Febre, eu comecei a desenvolver, era uma ideia que eu já tinha há muitos anos, uma ideia anterior, mas eu comecei a, de fato, desenvolver, escrever as primeiras linhas do argumento, sinopse, no final de 2012, início de 2013, e a gente filmou em abril de 2018. Então, 5 anos e meio, mais ou menos, 5 anos e meio. Então, foi um desenvolvimento longo e nos meus projetos, eu começo a escrever realmente num estágio mais inicial de desenvolvimento, porque como os projetos são desenvolvidos nos lugares e dependem muito da minha presença nos lugares, de estar indo para os lugares, de estar com as pessoas e de uma série de colaborações, eu não consigo fazer esses movimentos maiores sem ter nenhum recurso de desenvolvimento. E, ao mesmo tempo, eu sinto que me ajuda, os deadlines acabam ajudando a gente, no sentido de que vão também impulsionando, né? Acho que a gente senta realmente, se coloca ali para escrever e quando a gente tem um deadline, isso acaba ajudando a gente um pouco. Acho que isso acontece com todos nós, né? São tantas coisas ao redor na nossa vida que conseguir realmente tirar tudo da frente para se concentrar e escrever, os deadlines acabam sendo um estímulo nesse sentido, mas claro que é muito bom, né, assim, que o projeto possa caminhar independente dos deadlines, isso acontece também, e na Febre, isso está acontecendo muito com Canção da Noite, a gente foi criando um cronograma, assim, claro, do que a gente pode, do que a gente tem desejo. Hoje em dia eu tenho outras limitações pessoais também de tempo, familiares, etc., que meu tempo realmente ficou muito menor, então a gente vai se organizando para encontrar os momentos de estar desenvolvendo o projeto, eu e a Sabrina, e, ao mesmo tempo, olhando, né, quais são os fundos que podem ser importantes para o projeto, quais são os laboratórios que poderiam ajudar, né, em sentidos, às vezes, muito específicos de coisas que podem ser muito importantes para o projeto. Então, e a Sabrina pode até falar um pouquinho sobre isso, a gente olha, percebe, entende quais são esses momentos e tenta ir encaixando o desenvolvimento do projeto um pouco nessas datas e nessa timeline também. Mas claro que o projeto que vai ditar o seu tempo de desenvolvimento, né? Então tem coisas que realmente não dependem da gente. Agora a gente está nesse momento de Covid, eu quero muito poder viajar para o sul do Brasil, o filme se passa no Paraná, e eu preciso esperar um momento em que eu possa, de fato, fazer essa viagem, que eu possa estar em contato com as pessoas, né, que eu gostaria que participassem do filme, e que esse momento agora não é possível ainda, né? Então, claro que não depende só da gente, mas o filme vai sendo desenvolvido ao longo desses anos. No caso da Febre, foram muitos anos, muitas idas a Manaus e também muitas inscrições em fundos que a gente não foi aceito, né? Então, tem os fundos que a gente se inscreveu mais de uma vez, mas teve uma série de outros fundos, editais que a gente participou e que a gente recebeu negativa tanto no Brasil quanto fora do Brasil.
Obrigado, Mãe.
Obrigada, Maya. All right, we have to finish this great event. I want to thank everybody. There is one last question, so maybe you want to introduce this in your closing remarks, Sarah, which is, do you help projects that are selected connect with potential European co-producers once they are selected by you? But I'll hand it over to you for your final remarks. Maybe Sabrina also, Maya just mentioned a couple of things that you might want to touch upon. So in your final remarks, you want to address that. But I just want to thank you three. I want to, of course, congratulate you, Maya and Sabrina, for having been selected. And we're excited to know more about this project and see this new film coming up after Fever. And I want to thank everybody also who was here. More than 55 people. We're very excited. So I'll hand it over to you, Sarah, Sabrina, and Maya for our closing remarks.
Yeah, just to quickly answer the question, in case there is a specific European producer that we can introduce you to, we would be happy to do that. When it comes to Dutch co-producers, we also have a guide with all the Dutch co-producers that are interested in co-producing with HBF supported projects. So that's a really helpful tool as well. If you're selected and you're attending the festival, hopefully the physical edition, then we are also happy to meet up with you and to talk a bit further and maybe schedule some meetings with professionals that are attending and that you're interested in meeting with. So we try to help in any way that we can. So, and with that, I'm also going to close. The fund is here for all the incredible filmmakers that we are supporting, and we're really lucky to be able to support them. We also hope we're going to be able to do this for many years to come. Thank you for having me, and thank you for organizing this, Preto Paradiso. And as I said a million times already, if you have questions, please don't hesitate and just write to us, and we would be happy to help.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm sure people will take you seriously on this offer. Be careful, your email will be full soon.
We're looking
Maya and
forward to
Sabrina.
projects coming in.
So I'd like to thank you all for the invitation, Projeto Paradiso, to be here. It has been really a pleasure. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, all of you, for the questions and for the great conversation. It has been really a pleasure. For us, something that we didn't talk about, but we are really, really happy also. We were invited to take part of a second program. That is a program that is, it's part of the Huber-Bals. It's a partnership, I believe. Sarah maybe can talk a little bit about it without taking so much time, but it's called Boost NL, and it's a program for development that is a partnership between the Holland Film Festival and the Rotterdam Film Festival. So the market that happens in the Holland Film Festival and the Cinemart. And then it's a program that invites some projects that have been selected in Huber-Bals Fund to follow these projects during its development. So helping with consulting and helping and following the development of the script, and also giving the opportunity to the project to be presented in these markets and to find partners and co-producers and to be developed. So we are really happy with this opportunity. It's going to be great, and we'd like to thank Huber-Bals for that as well. And that's it. And all of you, and we sent 2 emails for Huber-Bals before this application. We made many questions, so so yeah, I think it's important. We always have doubts, and it's really great that there is this open channel and that Huber-Bals really answers, and that we can count to the support, because it's common that we have this kind of doubts before applying. So thank you all.
Congratulations again. Sabrina.
So thank you very much for this conversation. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Projeto Paradiso, Josephine, and team. We are very happy that we were selected and we had all this opportunity, even with the subscription in Boost NL. I think it will be a great opportunity for us to develop the project. As Maya said, we have a great thing about European funds, that they have a regular schedule. And for us, this is very important, because we can think about the whole process of development of the projects and think in parallel the finance strategy and what kind of funds we can apply. So Huber-Bals was our first fund, and this is because Huber-Bals is very connected to the main issues of the world, and they give this opportunity maybe to first or second films, because they are looking for good projects. Of course, when I say good projects, it's not only a good story, it's a good strategy, finance strategy, schedule strategy, but it's a great opportunity for us, even now, especially now that we don't have this kind of funds in Brazil. So thank you very much. It's a great opportunity, and for us it would be was a very important start point for us to put these projects on paper and to focus on his development during this year. And I think it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Josephine had a problem with her internet, so she left unexpectedly. But, well, I think we can wrap up now. Thank you so much for being here. Obrigada a todo mundo pela presença nessa manhã. Thank you so much, Sarah, Maya, and Sabrina. Congratulations once again, Maya and Sabrina. And we hope to see more Brazilian films in the next selection this year.